Hi, I'm Charles Smith, the former convener for Cultural Pluralism in the Arts Movement Ontario. Glad to be with you today.
And hello, I'm Erin Jones. I'm the current convener, co-director, and manager of transformational change.
And I'm Kevin Ormsby. I am a co-director with responsibilities in programming and public engagement for Cultural Pluralism in the Arts Movement Ontario.
We developed Cultural Pluralism in the Arts Movement Ontario to bring artists together with funders and with presenters to talk about what the challenges were to presenting their work. That grew in time to realizing we needed to have educational programming to support presenters predominantly and funders around what are the challenges that artists were facing, particularly IPAC artists, in terms of getting their work supported and then presented. And we also did some work with artists as well on how to engage with presenters, how to look at raising funds, how to look at developing their organizational infrastructure so they can sustain themselves over time. We've done a lot of educational workshops and have grown that into what we now call CPAMO, Cultural Pluralism in the Arts Movement Ontario, Pluralism Organizational Change. We've now on our 5th cohort for that. And those cohorts actually engage arts professionals in a 1.5-year education and training program. We take it very seriously and suggest to them that there are 5 key areas that they need to look at. One is on what is their own internal systems around equity, anti-racism, and so on. And that includes their staff, their board, their programming. The other is how are they engaging with communities? And what are they putting on their stages? Who's giving them advice and helping them to look at their marketing, their education, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, looking at how they then connect with others to make this happen.
One of the things that we're doing is train the trainer. We're teaching arts organizations that have their own audiences and their own reach how to take some of the same things that we've been doing and move it forward. So we're bringing that and engaging the 9 organizations that we've been working with, for instance, to ramp up their skills so that they're in a position to take that same knowledge and pay it forward. And not only that, but make it their own.
I want to also just mention the word IPAC. We wanted at CPAMO to make a statement about the historical marginalization of bodies in Canada. And so we do not say BIPOC, we say IPAC, because we wanted to make sure that we, as an organization, was going to look at the historical racialization and marginalization. And we thought that would have been as part of our reconciliation to start with Indigenous bodies. Some of the ways in which we support those IPAC artists is through one of the festivals that I run, which is the Gathering Divergence Multi-Arts Festival and Conference. And so it links both the organizational work through CPAMO POC with the artists. We want to make sure that the artists are seen by presenters. We also want to make sure that they're being supported in the work that they need to do. So through what I call our RFS program, which is Request for Submission, any artist, IPAC artists, persons working with IPAC artists on an IPAC subject matter can actually apply, and through an assessment process, we support them through showcasing their work.
An organization that doesn't have a lot of money, in fact, when we began, we had no money, needs to collaborate, needs to understand how to work with others in the field. And that means how do we hear what others are saying and how do we see what they're doing? We'd always worked in partnerships with other organizations because that increases the impact. And our final thing with CPAMO POC 5 is a train the trainer program. We are teaching the organizations, there are 9 in that program, how they can deliver to their members sessions on anti-racism, equity, decoloniality. I was motivated because I met with many artists, mostly Indigenous Black people of color artists, who had been telling me in about 2002 that they were not getting funding that they felt they deserved, they weren't getting spaces to perform, and they felt that that was undervaluing their work. So in time, we developed Cultural Pluralism in the Arts Movement Ontario to begin having dialogue between these artists, between funders and presenters as well. And it's only within the last, let's say, 15 to 20 years where artists of color and Indigenous artists are beginning to make some headway in getting grants and so on to do their work.
One of the major ones I can think of and have experienced is the microaggressions when you go in as a consultant into primarily white-led organizations, where your expertise and your knowledge is questioned in comparison to possibly white counterparts, because it puts up a wall to the work that we do that might involve organizations and persons in thinking about their privilege. What privilege do you have? And when you begin to have that conversation through different exercises, people begin to push back in a significant way. And it's been really, really challenging to then advance the work in equity, diversity, and inclusivity from a pluralistic standpoint. I think it's a challenge for us as a small organization where many of our persons we work with, other organizations, they feel there's a large team of people at CPAMO, and for the most part, there's 4 of us. It's been significant, but we still get the work done.
Giving artists that don't have access to some of the things that the corporate world has. We've done Train the Trainer with 9 organizations, and the content has been on a lot of things that people indicated they didn't have access to and were very thirsty for. How to manage an organization, leadership content, succession planning. The really great thing about adult learning when you bring organizations together is they teach each other, and they bring their lived experience.
I would like to talk about our publications, because I think, publications are critical to keeping the word in community and having that sense of authority that a binder of something presents. We started it off with what we call Pluralism in the Arts in Canada, Change is Going to Come. And it contained essays, articles by various artists and presenters around what was needed in terms of how to see the art, number one, the aesthetic values, and what was needed in community. It also contained change kits, tools for change.
When we've done some organizational reviews, it has resulted in policy changes or development of policies that didn't exist, so that some of their needs are met in a better way, or there's greater representation where there hadn't been before.
And one of our major success story for me is also, as someone who's certified in the critical response process, is embedding the critical response process through our CPAMO program, and then also communicating with that through the staff at CPAMO. And the critical response process is a 4-stage process that literally it enables opinions to be shared, but in a safe space. And so everyone, an organization, the ED, goes through the critical response process, but as a way of safely sharing their opinions to a particular subject matter, and in most cases it's around equity, diversity, and inclusivity. So it takes away also the nervousness and the tension, because we're building spaces of trust and bold spaces where equity, diversity, and inclusivity is at the forefront.